we go. Good evening, everyone. Hey, Sue. Nadia, Mats. I'm feeling better, Sue. Thank you for asking. I have a little vomiting bucket here. I think I actually have COVID. It's the only thing that makes sense. Either vomiting flu and the influenza or something like COVID, because normally it wouldn't feel like this. But I'm better than last week at least, so that's good. Hey, Jack. Nice to see you. I hope everyone had a good weekend and that you got some nice practice. I had some really nice revelations. Actually, there's some news. I just before I sat down now, I was talking to a friend, and I've had a lot of people wanting me to do some kind of course or some forum. A forum is coming, but I'm not doing that quite yet. But I've decided I'm going to do my first course, just something simple. So at beginning of next year, there will be it will be something simple. There won't be anything super advanced, but I just thought there's a lot of people who come in and just don't know how to start when they sit, and they have all these crazy ideas of what's supposed to happen when you sit, or what am I supposed to do? I'm not feeling anything, or I'm feeling lots of things. Is that okay? Is something strange with me? Am I special? So I just thought of doing a concise, very simple to follow course for people, so that people who want to get started have something. Okay, just listen to this an hour and you'll be good to go. So that was something fun. I've been wanting to do that for so long, and someone was talking to me saying, like, you have to do something like that. Yes, that will happen. And I will have like a newsletter or something. I'm so new to this stuff, but I will create some kind of email course. Thank you, Nadia. Some kind of email list where you can sign up, and because the thing is, the people who know the best what would be in that course are you, because you're watching the stream and you know me and you know what I teach. So I will ask for people to help me to kind of decide what's going to be in it, but we'll figure that out later. The other thing that was really interesting was that I had a conversation with my fiance, who also practices a lot. She meditates. She's been meditating for a long time, and she's a yoga teacher. And she went to a conference for yoga teachers, and she did something called self-inquiry, where you basically look at, when you're feeling something, you turn the light back and you ask, okay, who is feeling this? Who is asking this thing? Or where is this? I'm feeling angry. Okay, who is it that's feeling angry? So you look for the person or the being that feels angry, and when you turn your awareness back, then you realize that there's no one there. I've always been a bit against that practice because of a few reasons. But then when she mentioned it, like, well, that's kind of what I do without the asking. I just don't use that technique. But the thing that she described that happened to her when she did that technique was very similar to what happens to me automatically when I close my eyes. So I keep telling you over and over when we do these exercises, don't use your awareness like this. Widen your awareness. I want you to be wide and aware of a field. So we're not trying to do classical concentration meditation where we focus on one point. Instead, we're focusing on a wide sense of awareness. And when you ask these questions, who is asking, what you'll notice is that you kind of go back and you feel, okay, where is that person? Where is that thing that is looking? So it's very similar, but I'm going to try tonight when we do the guided meditation. So we'll do a trial, and I'll see how it works for you. And I have done it with some of my coaching students before, but then that was a little bit different case. But the main thing that I don't like is that when you do that, you become neutral. You're looking, okay, who's there? And there's stillness. There's just stillness there. There's nothing happening. But the thing that I believe is missing from pretty much all techniques that I've come into is that there needs to be a sense of enjoyment, good mood, appreciation, a feeling of joy, something that is more energetic than neutrality. Because I have seen people who have meditated for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, like plus 8 hours per day for that long, and they become like this. And you talk to them and it's like talking to a stone wall and nothing phases them. It just, things come up and they're extremely neutral. For someone who hasn't met anyone like this, it can be really intimidating in the beginning because they look like they have it so incredibly together, but they're just really, really neutral. And I've said this many times before, what I discovered when I was in Plum Village was that they focus so much on joy and appreciating and just the beauty of nature. And something happened to me when I added that to that level of clarity. Something changed. And that's when I started popping into these, what I call non-centric experiences. You could call them non-dual. There's not a feeling of anyone here. Things are just happening. There's this beautiful stillness and peacefulness of the world just being the way it is. And the idea that your outer circumstances can somehow determine your inner state is just ludicrous from that state. It doesn't say that there can't be difficult things happening, but you won't feel any rejection, aversion, craving, pushing, pulling towards it. So I will try a little bit tonight to experiment with it. It's a long time ago that I actually did any kind of self-inquiry or taught anyone self-inquiry, because it's not something that I normally figure to be that useful. Like Jack is saying, you should know by the time you've done a few years of practice that the mind or self of the brain is a liar. And very often the thing that it throws at you just, oh yeah, absolutely, that's like first year at school, like you figure out that the mind is just nuts, don't listen to it. The problem is there's a lot of people who go into meditation and try to figure out what's truth and what is my mind trying to tell me, and they listen to past lifetimes, future lifetimes, other dimensions, other beings. And I'm not saying that isn't true, but you get lost in that. And I've seen so many people who get lost in that, and they just basically the measurement for me if your meditation is working is, how are you feeling? Are you feeling good? Are you enjoying being here? Are you a happy human being? Or are you miserable? Are you fighting the world? Are you fighting the energies, or fighting everything, and that the world is a battle? And you're constantly feeling, oh, I need to move over here. I'm not okay here. I need to gain this new skill. I need to do that. If that's what you're doing, then something is missing. From my perspective of why we meditate, at least. Hey, Christian, nice to see you. I'm shaking a little bit. I have this, like, I get really, really flustered warm, and then I'm just shaking. I took a paracetamol before, so I hope I'm going to be okay, but we might just cut it a little bit short if it doesn't work. Any thoughts? I mean, I talk a lot. I basically want to introduce you to, I won't do too much today, but we will do a little bit of a different shift, and I'll be very interested in hearing how you find it, what happens to you when you do it, because it is a different way for me to do something like this. I am more used to doing it one-on-one or in a smaller group. Here I don't have the direct feedback. I can't look at you. When I have people in a room with me, I can look at them and I can almost feel them, like what's going on. I can see if they're resisting, or if they're like, you can see a lot by their facial expressions or how they're moving or what's happening just by being in the same room, and you can feel things from them also. I imagine that I can do that with you also, even though we're not in the same room, but it is more difficult to really know what's happening with you, so it requires a bit more feedback from you. But does that make sense? Is it something that you would find interesting, or do you just want to do what we normally do? I find it really interesting to experiment and try new things and see how far can we actually go in a forum like this. Cool. Nice to hear, Sue. It's nothing dangerous. I mean, yeah, it's like it. Basically, all meditation should be, okay, I'm not going to say it should be fun, but approach it as a fun experience, as something that will be enjoyable or will lead to more enjoyment. We're not doing this to get like these crazy states or to see into other realms or anything like that. We're just trying to experience and enjoy being here even more than we already do. Is it like inner child work? Inner child work is different. Inner child work is basically, that's Thich Nhat Hanh's method. So what they do in inner child, we could play around with that also. I did that quite a lot when I was in Plum Village, because that was the technique they practiced there. So it's more like it's almost like a therapy form. They base, to really simplify it, there's more to it, but to simplify it, they say that we all have an inner child inside of us, and we need to talk to that inner child and comfort it and make sure it feels loved. So it's kind of creating a separate entity upon which, inside of us, upon which we can give love and understanding. Because it might be difficult for you to say, oh, I'm such a terrible person, I don't deserve love. But you could see how your inner child, when you were a child, how when you were this innocent little child, how you need love, how you are perfect the way you are, how no one gave you the love you needed, but you're giving it to that part of yourself now, and how people didn't listen to you, how people said you were ugly, or that you were wrong, or that you're never going to amount to anything. And then you talk to that inner child and you explain to them that it's okay, I'm here, I've got your hand. And then we used to take long walks. They did a lot of walking meditation in Plum Village. And then when you did the walks, they would sometimes say, imagine that you're holding your inner child, or you're holding your ancestors. In other words, they're trying to bring up things that aren't real and kind of make them into a entity that you can relate to. I personally don't really subscribe to that, because that can cause... It can be super helpful. It's super helpful and really beneficial for some people, but it can also cause quite a few problems for other people. So yeah, that's inner child work. It's a special kind. It's a special way of relating to a part of yourself that is hurt, or that needs love. So in a way, it reminds a little bit, when I think about it, of psychotherapy, Freudian therapy, without all the interpretations, but basically that much of our adult mental imbalances comes from things that happened to us in our childhood. So there's parallels there. So no, this is not like inner child work. Self-inquiry is non-dual practices, where you look at that there is no duality. And again, there's a reason why I don't teach that, because if you say there's non-duality, what people try to do is they try to feel like everything. What we're aiming for here is simply removing this centered point. There is no centered point here. It's not really that you become this huge thing, that you become the universe. It's more that the idea that you are anything disappears, and everything just is. There's no need to change anything. It is the way it is. And then you can choose what you want to do with reality, just the way it is. But there's not this feeling that, oh, it needs to be a certain way for me to feel happy. That's the main thing. Hey, Mindful Mama, nice to have you here. Oof. Yeah, a little bit frossa, we call it in Swedish, but yeah, it's cold, even though it's not cold. Any questions or any thoughts? That's a good question, though, Nadia. I can understand that you would think that, but it is a different. That is a different practice. See, Jack is saying, getting up at 4 a.m., eating once a day, doing a lot of meditation and working gets the thing done. After a few decades, when the body forgets how it's living the comforts of lay life. Yeah, it's like I said, I've seen a lot of people who... there are some really good benefits to doing that. I also had another discussion with someone who was quite upset with me when well, not upset, but who was having a bit of a hard time when I was saying, like, it's difficult to understand what happens when you meditate 10, 12, 14, 15 hours per day, and every single minute in between those meditation sessions is done with mindfulness, made to make you aware. The level of concentration you get, it doesn't matter if you meditate 2 hours per day for 20 years, you're not going to have the kind of concentration states and experiences you get from living like that for a few months. It's just not the same thing. But that doesn't mean that just because you do that, you're going to have less sense of self or more enjoyment of reality. It just means that you're going to be able to experience things that you simply cannot do without living in that way. I mean, disregarding any kind of genetical freaks who just for some reason pop into these states without, like, I'm not saying there's not abnormalities, but for the average person, it's just something completely different. If I could choose between having 1 year meditating 10 hours per day or 20 years meditating 1 hour morning, 1 hour evening, I would take 20 years, 1 hour morning and evening any day. That would be far more beneficial. Good. What was I going to do? Yes, meditate. I hope I don't get lost too much today, because I'm a bit not really there. So we'll see how it goes. If the meditation goes sour, you know why. Just do your own thing. You will figure it out. So for those of you who are new, we usually start with a little chat like we had now. Then we'll have the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. And basically what it is a way of becoming one with our senses, of becoming aware simply of the senses without the self distorting or coming in the way, without the self analyzing or creating a feeling towards things we're seeing. So we're just seeing things as they are. After that, we'll sit for 20 minutes. Today is Monday, so today is a guided meditation. And then after that, we'll have a question and answer. We'll see how it goes tonight. If it won't be that long, but there will be if anyone has any questions, we can do them. I'd be very happy to hear how the meditation works, since we'll do it a little bit differently today. So to start off, we'll do 5 things that we can see, 4 things we can touch and feel, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. And we try to say them out aloud and really stop and experience our senses. So it's not just rambling off 5 things. It's not an exercise you get any grades on. If anything, if you just stay with 1 or 2 things the whole time, that would be much better than going through all of them. So say it together with me, and well, obviously not what I'm saying, but what you're seeing. I see metal. I can see a blue pouch that is open. I see a box for a light bulb. I see a Buddha statue. I see a pair of woolen socks. Those are 5 things that I could see. Then we take 4 things that we can feel. And try to enjoy your sense, meaning that when you feel, I'm feeling my hand on the hairs of my arm. Just feel what that feels like. We're not trying to say it's good, it's bad, or it's anything. Just feel, if you can feel what that feels like, and just enjoy experiencing reality. If you feel any feeling that you need to go anywhere else, or that you need to feel anything else, just bring it back. Bring it back and just feel what it feels like to touch whatever you're touching. I can feel the warmth of my cup. I can feel my metal thermos. And be playful with it. Feel with your fingertips. feel with your whole surface of your hand, maybe the inside of your arm, just whatever you're feeling. And I think I have one left. I feel this soft fabric. Next, we'll listen for 3 things that we can hear. It's worth pointing out that we're so used to the idea that what we enjoy is the story of our life. When you're doing something you enjoy, that you really like doing, many times people say, oh, I'm so happy that I'm here, that this happened to me, that I am allowed to be here, and it's so wonderful. But we're not really happy about the experiences we have while we're here. It's almost like it's difficult for us to be happy about just being. We need to add a layer of story. No. As an example, if you would go to Mumbai in India, and you would have all the smells and the sounds and the lights and the scents. Oh my goodness, there's so much scents. And the flavors when you eat the food, you'd be like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. I can't believe I'm here. In other words, the story of you being in Mumbai is incredible. It's a new country. Maybe you've never been there. Whereas if you would have lived there for 10 years and you were poor and living on the street, you'd be like, oh my God, I'm in Mumbai. I can't believe that I'm still in this shithole, you might say. Or maybe not. Depends on how you see it. Now, both people are at the same place. It's just that when you're somewhere new, we tend to have an easier time experiencing reality because we don't have all the distortions. But still, when we talk about it, we don't say, oh, it's so interesting with the smells and what it feels like. Instead, we say, oh, I'm here in this place, and we miss the actual experience of being there. So that's part of the reason why we do these exercises. Next thing, hearing. 3 things that we can hear. So I can actually hear me scratching my head. It makes like a resonating sound. It must be that my head is completely empty, so it's like a guitar. Now there's this echo inside. And when you're listening for the sounds, don't necessarily take the first sound, but listen and see if there's nuances within the sound. I can hear the movement of the grate that controls the flow from the air conditioner. It was moving. I can hear the compressor pumping outside for the air conditioner. Those are 3 things that I could hear. Now take 2 things that we can smell. And now we really need to focus because it's a bit more difficult to be aware of these senses. I can smell like something's been heated, like it's been warmed. I can smell something sweet. Not sure what it is. let me take one thing that we can taste. Here's a sweet taste. I think it's from my tea. So I want you to close your eyes and start paying attention to what it feels like to breathe. To what it feels like to bring air into your body and then exhale that air. We're not looking for a small area where that is happening. Instead, we're trying to be aware of breath happening. Almost like a field covering the whole body as you're breathing in and breathing out. You can feel how the body is shifting, but you might not be able to point to one specific point of breath. So bring your awareness to the breath and start observing what it feels like to breathe. How nice it is to get air. Maybe it's cool, maybe it's warm, dry, humid. It might be still. Or maybe you're outside and there's a breeze. There might be some scents. Whatever's happening, just observe breath happening in a wide area inside of you. Now it is very common that there's a sense of self that says, well, I can't do this. I need to think about all these important things I need to do. Or maybe you were hurt earlier today, or yesterday, last week, last month, last year, or several years ago. Or maybe even in an earlier lifetime, you feel that you were hurt. Whatever it is, just let that be. It's just 20 minutes that we're sitting here. I promise you that the universe will survive without you. So just give yourself permission for the next 20 minutes to just observe your breath. And we can leave all the problems, all the worries, and all the important things that we feel are so important. We can leave them for now and instead bring all of our awareness to the breath. To make it a little bit easier to do this, we will use a technique where we count from 1 to 8 and then down again from 8 to 1. And I will do it together with you one time, and then you can continue doing it by yourself. So breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in, breathing out. 2. Breathing in, breathing out. 3. Breathing in, breathing out. 4. Breathing in, breathing out. 5. Breathing in, breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 7. Breathing in, breathing out. 8. Breathing in, breathing out. 7. Breathing in, breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 5. Breathing in, breathing out. 4. Breathing in, breathing out. 3. Breathing in, breathing out. 2. Breathing in, breathing out. 1. Now keep on counting for yourself from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1. As you breathe in and breathe out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. Now, as you've been sitting and observing your breath for a while, we're going to try something a little bit different. We'll try it gradually to see what happens when we shift our awareness in this way. I want you to take your right hand. If you have your hands together, just put it a little bit to the side, just slightly so that it's by itself. And I want you to observe your right hand. I want you to look or feel your right hand. Can you feel what it feels like? Are there sensations in your hand? Maybe there's some tingling, some moisture, pressure, tension. Maybe it's cold or maybe it's warm. Whatever it is, just observe what your right hand feels like. And as you've done this, I want you to turn your awareness around and see who is doing the looking. Who is looking at your right hand? Where is that awareness coming from? Just stop and see. Is there any place where there's a entity or a knot or a feeling of someone that is observing your right hand? When you're searching, it's not with a spotlight, it's with a wide flood beam, as wide as possible. Can you see anyone who is doing the looking at the hand? Is that perspective originating anywhere? And if so, just rest your awareness at that place and see if it would dissolve, if there's actually something there, or if it's just an imagined center point. As we're doing this, it's important that we don't become frustrated or tense up as we're searching or trying to find something. Instead, just feel relaxed. Just let whatever happens, happens. And if you feel that it's discomfortable, then just move back to your breath again. Or keep on searching. Is there anything there that is observing your right hand? After this, you can observe inside of you. Is there any kind of tension, anxiety, or any feeling that I don't want to be here, or I wish that this could change. It will be a feeling of unpleasantness that's a bit jagged. It's uncomfortable to look at. Maybe you believe that if I could only find that point that he's talking about. Or maybe it's that you wish that I'd stop talking so you could just go back to observing your breath. Just see if there's any kind of tension or uncomfortableness inside of you. Any feeling of right now not being okay. If that is so, then look, who is it that is not okay? Where is that feeling, that person, that entity? Where is it situated? And just look if you can find someone there. Now we've looked if there's anyone who's observing the hand. We've seen if there's anyone there who is feeling agitated or anxiety. The most important thing is what you do with this spaciousness, this feeling of ease that you're feeling. I want you to lean in to feeling good, to feeling peaceful, to enjoying just being, not needing to change anything, but that effortless ease of just being. We're not creating joy by tensing up and trying to feel something. Instead, we're relaxing and leaning into joy, sinking into that feeling of warmth, comfort, safety, ease of just being here, now. See if you can let that feeling of ease and comfortableness come to the surface. And you can feel it spread throughout your body. And just enjoy sitting here and appreciate how nice it is to use your ears and listen to whatever you're hearing, to feel whatever sensations you're feeling throughout your body as you're sitting still in that awareness. continue and bring that feeling of ease with you as you either continue sitting or open your eyes, have a cup of tea, or just sit for a bit longer. Did that feel different to anyone? Jack is saying, thank you, Martin, for today's session. I hope everybody is in good health, and I bid you all a very good night. Good night, Jack. Did that feel different to anyone, or was it more or less the same, or were you able to do that separation, where you looked at if there's anyone there observing your your hand? Can't actually remember what I said. I think we did the hand. Very different, Sue is saying. In what way? In a good way or in a bad way? Also, if you have that feeling of just stillness, of just coziness, almost sitting wrapped in a warm blanket in front of a fire, if you have that feeling, try to sink into that and bring that with you, because what you'll notice is as soon as you start having, I need to be here at this time, I need to be over there, then that starts disappearing. See, Mats is saying, I noticed the questioning where the awareness of a thought, distortion, etc. originates. Remove the meaning story of it. Yeah. A powerful distortive thought became just noise, like a car rumbling outside. I think the nice thing about this is, which my fiance actually brought this up to me, is that what you're describing, Mats, that's pretty much what I do when I observe distortion. It's just that I've done this so much that for me I don't need to think, okay, you just move back and you see where does it come from and it disappears. I just do that instinctively. But for some people it's very useful to do something like this, where you turn your awareness and you say, hey, is there something there? Where is that coming from? And by that little shift, sometimes it disappears. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's too strong. But if you have enough concentration and you're able to just do this, what you're basically doing is you go, where is that coming from? And you create an open space without a strong center point that is looking for things or feeling things. And then it's like you say, it just becomes a meaningless story. It's just something that was there. So the breathing brought me back. I had a horrible memory creep in from when I was a child about picking my nails and being shouted at for it. The breath is so useful in so many ways. That's why I always teach it, no matter what technique people do. It's always a good thing to have your breath, because you always have it with you, unless you're dead, and then you're not meditating anyway. I mean, that could be debated if people believe you're... Yeah, never mind. Basically, you always have your breath with you, and if you become comfortable with your breath, you can use it for... In so many situations, it's very good for calming you down or for bringing you back. If you find your thoughts become too far out, or you just get lost in your thoughts, it's difficult for someone who has never experienced a mind that is out of control to understand how painful, like physically painful it is to have a mind that is going crazy. That is a really scary thing, and if you haven't experienced that, it's very difficult to understand. But if you ever do, use your breath. Just use that as an anchor to keep you there. Let's see mine from Mama. Very nice with a different guidance. I am just very tired, so fell asleep many times. I need to refocus about 100 times. That's okay. Sometimes we're tired. I think I've told the story about when I did a meditation with some kids in Sri Lanka, and they had a big Poya festival, and they all fell asleep. And afterwards, when they asked, the other people asked them what they did, say, we did sleeping meditation. And everyone laughed, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is embarrassing. But now, I thought that was really funny, actually. Mats, it's just noise, but from the inside. Yeah. Sue, I tensed up and then relaxed again when returning to the breath. Yeah. And it's this shift of looking at the distortion, not just, I mean, you look at it, but then you kind of give it space. We're not trying to push down. So if it's okay, Sue, I'll talk about your case. If you have that thought, of, I think you bit your nails, right? Picking my nails. Okay, you were picking your nails and someone shouted at you. When that thought comes, that's like, oop, I don't want to feel this. No. And then you kind of tense up and you don't let that feeling come up. We kind of push it away and we create a strong centered point that's pushing against that. In other words, you create a lot of pressure, a lot of self. But what happens when we turn it back and ask, okay, who is asking this? Who is pushing against this? Is you kind of give it space. You just release and you turn your awareness here, and then all of a sudden there's nothing there. This pressure you created between this sense of I am here and this thing that someone did to you or that happened to you. Instead of pushing, it's just, where is that from? And you give it space and you come, and then it just disappears because there's nothing there. That's what I mean when I say observe the distortions. It's not about reveling in it, like, oh, it feels so nice and distorty-ish. I like feeling like that's not what we're doing. We're trying to just give it space and see that there's nothing there, because you're the one creating that pressure. And when there's nothing here, there cannot be pressure because it just pushes past. Mindful Mama, very nice with a different guidance. I'm just very tired. Okay, I think that was just the same as before. And Sue was saying that's exactly how it was. Yeah, very nice. So what happens is you have this memory, right? And that hurts us. If you go to psychotherapy, you could talk to a therapist and they could say, okay, well, you know what happened, Sue, was actually that whoever said this, let's say it was your mother, the reason she did that was because when she was a child, she did that at the table and her grandmother was really angry at her because she did that, because she dropped something in the soup and they all had to eat her, like whatever was stuck. Maybe it was chicken poop. She'd been out feeding the hens. And so she had this big experience, and then she brought that with her and she gave that to you. So that was not something you did, it was some hurt that she had from her mother. And then you say, oh, I get it. It was not she was not shouting at me. She was actually afraid because someone had shouted at her. Now you're making up an excuse as to why your mother did that, and you accept that excuse. And you're like, oh, it was actually not that I was this bad. It was because something had happened to her, so she overreacted. Okay, I don't need to feel bad about this. I don't need to push here anymore. There's nothing here. Now you could try to look for a reason or an excuse strong enough to let you do that. Or you can simply look at it, feel it, and then say, okay, where is this coming from? Is there actually anything here? And like, no, there's nothing there when you take away this part that is pushing against. And then it's just gone. It will come back again, and then it will go away, and it will come back again and go away. But every time you let this happen, then you kind of erase a part of that strong resistance towards it. And like I said, the reason I don't like this practice in general is because it gets you very neutral, like really like this. And we need to introduce the appreciation and the joy of being here. That's a vital part of it. We're not trying to become this like neutral, numb state, just walking around. No, we're trying to really enjoy being here, because when we're non-centric, when there's nothing, when there's no sense of anyone being here, reality is incredible. Reality is beautiful. It's just perfect. There's nothing you need to do to feel better. And then you take whatever action you want to from that space. Not because, oh, if I can save that person, then I will feel good. No, it's simply because someone is hurt. It makes sense to help them. But it won't change how you feel. I hope that didn't go too fast or was difficult to follow. Let's see, Nadia. I realized who was feeling my hand. It wasn't me. I felt sadness. I leaned into it. Yeah. A lot of things can come up. Interesting. I'm happy that this actually... It's so funny. Like I said, It's difficult for me sometimes, because the problem with having meditated much as I do is that I don't think about these things. They're just very natural. Well, of course, when you observe the distortions, you take a step back and you see like what's there, and then it just falls apart. But it's good sometimes to have other techniques. So I will think a bit more about this and see if there's ways that we can incorporate that, so we do more of that. And also, like I said, the really important part is that you feel that sense of, I call it happy feet, because this was before the movie Happy Feet, by the way. When I was a child, I remember laying in my bed and had this feeling in my stomach. It was like happy feet, like I just wanted to dance, jump around, and it was endless possibilities. There was no difficulty with anything. It's just, what should I do today? I can do anything, and there's just this joy of exploring, of doing things. We have these feelings when we go on vacation and we're in a new place and we just walk around and everything is new. Children have it all the time. That's non-centricness. That's what we're aiming for. Well, just saying thanks for the meditation. Hope you'll feel better soon. I'm starting to get sick too. Flu seems to be making rounds again. Yeah, good night, Mats. Thank you. I hope also that next time we'll feel a little bit better. Night, Mats. Thank you everyone for today. As always, it's nice, even when I'm feeling sick like this, it's just really nice to meet everyone and have a nice session and just sit, relax, have a calm time and enjoy. And until Thursday, play around with this a little bit. Look inside and see, can you lean into this enjoyment, this appreciation of just being? Can you see that when you walk around, you actually don't really want to be there? You believe you're going to be happier when you're one step forward. Why? Why can't you just enjoy being here? Look at that and see what happens. See you all on Thursday. Thank you.